Rain tapped softly on the tall glass windows of Kong Global Tower. Inside the top office sat Adrien Kong, the man everyone in Seoul knew. He was only 30, yet he owned more buildings than most people would see in a lifetime. Workers bowed when he passed. Business leaders waited nervously outside his office doors. But Adrien Kong felt nothing. Women admired him. Many wanted to marry him. Elegant daughters of politicians attended the same parties he did. Models smiled at him. Famous actresses laughed at his quiet jokes. Yet every conversation felt like reading a contract. Predictable. Polite. Empty. For many years Adrien tried dating. Dinner in expensive restaurants. Quiet walks through bright city streets. Gifts that cost more than most houses. But his heart never moved. It never beat faster. It never felt warm. After a while he stopped trying. People whispered about him. CEO Kang is too cold. He only loves money. Maybe he cannot love at all. Adrien never answered those rumors. He simply worked harder. If feelings would not come, then success would. And success came. But happiness did not. One evening, after a long shareholders meeting, Adrien stepped out of his black car near a small street close to Seoul University. Rain poured heavily, covering the road in silver light. His driver spoke softly. "Sir, the usual restaurant?" Adrien looked out the window. For some reason, he felt tired of the usual places. "No," he said calmly. "Stop here." The driver blinked in surprise. The restaurant beside them was small. Students crowded inside. The sign flickered in the rain. It was nothing like the luxury places Adrien normally visited. But something pulled him inside. Warm air greeted him as the door opened. The smell of soup and grilled meat filled the room. Students laughed loudly at nearby tables. Adrien quietly sat in the corner. No one recognized him. And for once, he liked that. A few minutes later, someone approached his table. "Hello. Welcome." Adrien looked up. And for the first time in 30 years, something changed. The waitress standing before him had dark brown skin and bright eyes. Her hair was tied back simply. Her uniform looked slightly old from many washes. But her smile felt real. Not practiced. Not careful. Just warm. "My name is Angel," she said gently. "What would you like to eat?" Adrien stared for a moment longer than he meant to. His chest felt strange. "I'll have anything you recommend." Angel laughed softly. "That is dangerous. I like spicy food." Adrien almost smiled. Angel returned with a tray full of food. As she set down the bowls, Adrien accidentally knocked his fork off the table. The metal clattered loudly on the floor. Several students glanced over. Adrien reached down quickly, embarrassed, but Angel was faster. She picked up the fork and placed a clean one beside him. "It's okay," she said kindly. "Everyone has long days." She smiled again and walked away to serve another table. But Adrien could not look away. His heart was beating strangely. Fast. Too fast. He pressed his hand lightly against his chest. This had never happened before. He had met queens of beauty, famous actresses, women trained from childhood to charm powerful men. None of them made his heart react. Yet a simple university waitress had changed something inside him in only seconds. Adrien stayed longer than he planned. He watched Angel move around the room. She carried heavy trays but never complained. She laughed with the students. She spoke kindly to an old man sitting alone. Nothing she did looked fake. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just herself. And Adrien Kong realized something terrifying. For the first time in 30 years, his heart wanted to know someone. The next evening, Adrien returned. He told himself it was because the food was good. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He wanted to see Angel again. This time the restaurant was even busier. Students filled every seat. Adrien quietly waited in the corner. Angel spotted him after a few minutes. "Oh," she said with surprise. "The quiet, spicy food customer." Adrien raised an eyebrow. "That is my new name?" Angel grinned. "Until you tell me your real one." "Adrien." "Nice to meet you, Adrien." Her smile again felt warm enough to melt ice. Adrien noticed something else too. Angel treated him exactly like everyone else. No special attention. No nervous respect. Just normal kindness. For someone like Adrien Kong, that was very rare. And strangely, he liked it more than anything else. Days passed. Adrien began visiting the restaurant often. Sometimes 3 times in 1 week. He always chose the same corner table. Angel would greet him with the same simple smile. They began talking a little more each time. He learned she was studying architecture at the university nearby. She worked at the restaurant every evening. She lived in a tiny apartment with 2 other students. And every month she sent money back home to help her mother. One evening Adrien quietly asked, "Why do you work so hard?" Angel shrugged lightly. "Because dreams are expensive. Architecture." Her eyes sparkled. "Yes, I want to design buildings people can afford. Homes that feel beautiful even if they are small." Adrien listened carefully. Most people spoke to him about money. Angel spoke about purpose. It fascinated him. Weeks later, Adrien asked something that surprised even himself. "Angel, why don't you find someone rich to support you?" Angel froze. For a moment Adrien worried he had offended her. Then she shook her head slowly. "I don't want that." "Why not?" Angel met his eyes calmly. "Because I want someone who respects me, not someone who rescues me." The restaurant noise faded in Adrien's ears. That sentence hit him harder than any business deal. Respect, not rescue. Adrien suddenly realized something painful. His whole life he had controlled everything. Employees, business partners, even relationships. But Angel didn't want control. She wanted equality. For the first time in years, Adrien felt like he had something to learn. But the truth about Adrien Kong could not stay hidden forever. One night, several businessmen entered the restaurant. They immediately recognized him. CEO Kong? The entire restaurant went silent. Students whispered in shock. Angel turned slowly toward Adrien. Confusion filled her face. "You are CEO Kong?" Adrien sighed quietly. "Yes." Angel stared at him for a long moment. Then she stepped back. "Oh." That single word carried disappointment. Something inside Adrien twisted painfully. "I didn't want you to treat me differently." Angel shook her head. "That's exactly the problem." "What do you mean?" Her voice softened. "I don't want to become someone's charity project." Adrien felt something close to panic. "That's not what I..." But Angel was already stepping away. "Good night, Mr. Kong." And just like that, the first person who ever made his heart move walked away from him. The next evening Adrien returned. Angel was working again, but she avoided his table. Another waiter served him. Adrien didn't complain. He simply sat quietly, waiting, watching. For the first time in his powerful life, he could not solve a problem with money. So he did the only thing he could. He came back the next day, and the next, and the next. Sometimes Angel would glance at him. Sometimes she wouldn't. But Adrien never demanded her attention. He just showed up. Not as a CEO. Not as a powerful man. Just Adrien. The man who was learning, slowly, how to feel. And somewhere deep inside Angel's heart, a small question began to grow. Why would the most powerful man in Seoul keep coming back, just to sit quietly in the corner and wait for her smile? One cold evening, the restaurant closed early because of a broken heater. Students rushed out into the freezing night. Angel stepped outside carrying a small bag. She nearly jumped when she saw Adrien standing under a street lamp. He wasn't wearing his expensive suit, just a simple coat. "You're still here?" she asked. Adrien nodded. "I wanted to talk." Angel crossed her arms. "About what?" Adrien took a slow breath. "About learning." Angel frowned slightly. "Learning?" "Yes," Adrien said quietly. "I think you are teaching me how to be human." Angel blinked in surprise. And for the first time since discovering his secret, she smiled again. Not fully, but enough for Adrien's heart to beat wildly once more. And neither of them realized it yet. But that small moment under the street lamp was only the beginning of a story that would change both their lives forever. Angel looked at Adrien under the street lamp. The yellow light made the rain look like falling gold. For a few seconds, she did not speak. Adrien could feel his heart beating loudly in his chest. This feeling was still new to him. In business meetings, he was always calm. Nothing shook him. But standing in front of Angel made him strangely nervous. Angel finally spoke. "You are a CEO," she said slowly. "Why would someone like you need to learn how to be human?" Adrien looked down at the wet road. Because being successful is not the same as being alive. Angel did not expect that answer. She studied his face carefully. For the first time, she noticed something she had not seen before. Loneliness. Deep loneliness. Not the kind people complain about, but the quiet loneliness of someone who built tall walls around his heart. Angel sighed softly. "You should go home, Mr. Kong. It's cold." "Adrien." Angel looked at him. "My name is Adrien," he said gently. "Not Mr. Kong." Angel hesitated. Then she nodded once. "Good night, Adrien." It was a small moment, but to Adrien it felt like a door opening just a little. The next evening, Adrien returned to the restaurant again. This time Angel did not avoid him. She walked to his table with her usual tray. "What will you eat today?" she asked. Adrien smiled slightly. "Anything you recommend." Angel laughed. "You said that the first day too. And you chose well." Angel shook her head playfully and wrote the order. But before she walked away, she looked at him again. "You really don't have a fancy place to eat?" "I do." "Then why come here?" Adrien answered honestly. "Because this place feels real." Angel paused. Then she quietly walked away. But inside her chest, something moved. Days slowly turned into weeks again. Adrien continued visiting the restaurant. But now Angel talked with him more freely. Not like before, but not cold either. She asked about his work sometimes. Adrien explained simple things about buildings and companies. Angel's eyes always lit up when he talked about architecture. One night, she showed him a small notebook. Inside were sketches of buildings she designed. Some looked like small apartment homes. Some looked like parks surrounded by simple houses. Adrien flipped through the pages slowly. "These are very good," he said honestly. Angel smiled shyly. "I want people who are not rich to still live in beautiful places." Adrien looked at her. "You already think like a great architect." Angel blinked in surprise. No one had ever said that to her before. But not everyone liked seeing Adrien Kong in that small restaurant. One evening, two rich women entered the restaurant. They were daughters of powerful businessmen. Both had tried to date Adrien before. When they saw him sitting at the small table, they were shocked. "Adrien?" The entire room turned quiet. Angel looked over. The women walked to Adrien's table confidently. "Why are you eating here?" one asked. "You usually dine at the Grand Palace Hotel." The other woman looked around the simple restaurant with a small frown. "This place is for students." Adrien answered calmly. "I like the food." Then the first woman noticed Angel standing nearby. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Oh," she said slowly. "So that's the reason." Angel felt uncomfortable. The woman continued speaking loudly. "You know Adrien Kong could buy this entire restaurant if he wanted." The students whispered again. Angel placed the tray on another table quietly. Then she spoke calmly. "Your food will be ready soon." But the woman laughed. "You should be careful, waitress. Rich men get bored easily." Adrien's eyes turned cold. "Enough," he said quietly. The woman stopped talking immediately. Everyone in Seoul knew that tone. It was the voice Adrien used when ending billion-dollar deals. But this time his next words surprised everyone. "You are embarrassing yourselves." The women looked shocked. Adrien stood up. "I came here to eat in peace. If you cannot respect that, please leave." The restaurant was silent. After a moment, the women turned red with anger and walked out. Angel looked at Adrien. "You didn't have to do that." Adrien sat down again. "Yes, I did." "Why?" Adrien answered simply. "Because respect matters." Angel stared at him for a few seconds. Those were the same words she had said weeks ago. Slowly, she smiled. Outside the restaurant that night, Angel walked beside Adrien for a short distance. The street was quiet. Neon lights from nearby shops glowed softly. Angel suddenly asked a question. "Adrien, do you ever get tired?" "Of what?" "Being powerful." Adrien thought for a moment. "Yes." Angel looked surprised. "Really?" Yes, he said. Power means people expect you to never be weak. Angel nodded slowly. That sounds lonely. Adrien looked at her. It is. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then Angel suddenly laughed softly. What? You're the strangest CEO I've ever met. Adrien raised an eyebrow. How many CEOs do you know? Just one, she said. And he eats spicy student food 3 times a week. Adrien laughed quietly. It was a rare sound. Angel noticed. You should laugh more, she said. It suits you better than that serious face. Adrien felt something warm inside his chest again. Angel didn't realize how powerful her simple words were. Winter slowly arrived in Seoul. The air grew colder. Angel worked even harder at the restaurant. Final exams were coming. Adrien noticed the tired look on her face one evening. You should rest more, he said. Angel shook her head. I can't. Why not? I need the money for next semester. Adrien looked thoughtful. Then he asked something carefully. Would you accept a job at my company? Angel froze. What? Internship, Adrien said quickly. Architecture department. Angel stared at him. Then she slowly shook her head. No. Adrien felt his chest tighten. Why? Angel answered calmly. Because people will say I got it because of you. That's not true. But they will still say it, Angel replied. Adrien could not argue with that. Angel placed her notebook into her bag. I want to succeed with my own effort. Adrien watched her quietly. Then he smiled softly. I understand. Angel looked surprised. You do? Yes. Most rich men wouldn't. Adrien shrugged lightly. I'm still learning. Angel's smile returned again. And this time it stayed longer. But far away, inside a tall office building, someone else had started watching. A powerful businessman named Park Min-jae sat behind a large desk. A photo of his daughter sat beside him. She was one of the women Adrien had rejected. Min-jae tapped the table slowly. CEO Kong visiting a student restaurant every week, he muttered. His assistant nodded. Yes, sir. Min-jae's eyes narrowed. And the waitress? A university student named Angel. Min-jae leaned back slowly. Interesting. Then he smiled coldly and with jealousy. Let's see how long this little story lasts. The next morning the sun rose gently over Seoul. Light touched the tall buildings and the quiet streets near the university. Angel was already awake. She sat by the small window in her tiny apartment with her sketchbook open. Her 2 roommates were still sleeping, but Angel liked the quiet morning hours. She was drawing a small park surrounded by simple homes. Children could play there. Parents could sit on benches. The homes were not big, but they looked warm and welcoming. Angel smiled at the drawing. She imagined families laughing there. That dream always made her heart feel full. But soon she closed the sketchbook and stood up quickly. Work time, she whispered to herself. Angel's life had always been simple. Study, work, save money, sleep, repeat. But recently something had changed. Adrien, the quiet CEO who came to a student restaurant just to eat spicy food and talk about life. Angel shook her head slightly. He's strange, she murmured. But her small smile showed she did not mean it in a bad way. Later that evening the restaurant was busy again. Students filled the tables with books and laptops. Angel moved quickly between tables carrying trays. Then the door opened. Angel didn't even need to look. She somehow knew. Adrien had arrived. He stepped inside wearing a simple dark coat. His tall figure still stood out, but he looked less like a powerful CEO and more like a normal man trying to enjoy dinner. Angel walked over with a small grin. You're late today. Adrien sat down. Long meeting. Angel wrote his order without asking. Spicy soup. Adrien nodded. You know me well. Angel looked proud. I'm a professional waitress. But inside, Adrien thought something else. She really did know him now. While Angel worked, Adrien watched the restaurant quietly like he always did. Students laughed loudly. One group was celebrating passing an exam. Another group was arguing about a math problem. The restaurant felt alive. It was very different from the silent luxury restaurants Adrien usually visited. And strangely, this place felt warmer. Angel soon returned with his food. Careful, she warned. Extra spicy today. Adrien tasted the soup. His eyes widened slightly. That is very spicy. Angel laughed. You said you liked it. Adrien nodded bravely and continued eating. Angel watched him struggle for a second before walking away, trying not to laugh too loudly. For the first time in many years, Adrien felt something very simple. Fun. After the dinner rush ended, Angel finally had a short break. She sat across from Adrien with a glass of water. You survived the spicy soup, she teased. Barely, Adrien admitted. Angel smiled proudly. That means you are getting stronger. Adrien leaned back in his chair. Maybe. Angel tilted her head slightly. You seem different these days. How? Less serious. Adrien thought about that. Maybe I am. Angel looked curious. What changed? Adrien looked directly at her. You. Angel blinked quickly. She was not expecting such a direct answer. For a moment she looked at the table instead of his face. Then she cleared her throat. Well, don't blame me if your business partners start complaining. Adrien chuckled softly. They might already be. Meanwhile, inside Kong Global headquarters, Adrien's assistant, Ji-hoon, stood nervously outside the CEO's office. Ji-hoon had worked for Adrien for 6 years. He had never seen his boss act like this before. Adrien used to work late every night. Now he often left early. And Ji-hoon knew exactly where he was going. A small student restaurant. Ji-hoon knocked lightly. Come in. Adrien looked up from his desk. Yes. Sir, tomorrow is the University Architecture Exhibition. Adrien paused. Architecture. Yes, Ji-hoon said. Students present their designs. Many companies attend. Adrien suddenly remembered something. Angel's dream. Architecture. Which university? Adrien asked. Seoul University. Adrien closed the file on his desk slowly. Then he smiled. I think we should attend. Ji-hoon almost dropped his tablet. His boss attending a student exhibition? That was definitely new. Now what happened next changed everything. But before I tell you, if you're feeling this story, take a second to subscribe. It truly means a lot to us and helps this channel grow so we can bring you more powerful stories like this. And don't forget to drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to see where our family is watching from. Okay, back to the story. The next day, the university hall was filled with students and visitors. Large posters and models of buildings covered every table. Angel stood nervously beside her project display. She had worked on it for 3 months. Her design showed a small community neighborhood with green parks and affordable homes. Angel held her hands together tightly. What if no one likes it? She whispered to herself. Then suddenly she heard a familiar voice. I like it. Angel turned around quickly. Adrien stood behind her. Simple code. Calm expression. Angel's eyes widened. You came? Adrien nodded. You told me about your dream. Angel looked surprised and happy at the same time. You're very busy. Adrien glanced at the model houses on the table. This is more important. Angel's heart warmed. Visitors slowly walked past Angel's display. Some nodded politely. Some asked questions. Adrien stood quietly nearby, watching her explain her ideas. Angel spoke with passion. Her hands moved excitedly while she talked about parks, sunlight, and families. Adrien noticed something. Angel looked completely different when she talked about architecture. Her eyes shined. Her voice grew stronger. She wasn't just a waitress here. She looked like a future architect. Adrien felt proud. Not because she was connected to him, but because she truly deserved success. Later that afternoon, judges announced the student awards. Angel stood in the crowd nervously. 3rd place was announced. Then 2nd place. Angel clapped politely. She did not expect anything. Then the final judge spoke. 1st place. Angel Johnson. Angel froze. What? Students around her began clapping loudly. Her friends pushed her forward. Angel, go. Angel walked slowly to the stage in disbelief. The judge smiled warmly. Your design shows heart. You understand what homes mean to families. Angel accepted the award with shaking hands. Across the room, Adrien watched quietly. He didn't clap loudly. He didn't stand out. But inside his chest something felt bigger than any business victory he had ever had. Pride. Pure pride. After the event ended, Angel ran outside the building. She spotted Adrien standing near the campus trees. "I won," she said breathlessly. Adrien nodded with a soft smile. "I know." Angel held up the small trophy. "I can't believe it." "You earned it." Angel looked at him carefully. "You believed in me before the judges did." Adrien shrugged lightly. "That's because I listened." Angel smiled warmly. Then she said something quietly. "You're a good friend, Adrien." The word friend hung gently in the air. Adrien didn't correct it. For now, that was enough. Because their story was still growing. Slowly. Patiently. One small moment at a time. Angel held the small trophy in both hands as she and Adrien slowly walked across the quiet university campus. The evening air was cool, and soft lights glowed along the pathways. Students were still celebrating their projects, laughing, and taking pictures. But Angel felt like she was floating in a dream. "I still can't believe I won," she said again. Adrien looked at her. "You should believe it." Angel shook her head with a small laugh. "You don't understand. Students here are very talented. I was not expecting first place." Adrien pointed gently at the trophy. "But you still earned it." Angel looked down at the shiny surface. For many years, she had worked hard without knowing if her dream would ever become real. Today felt like proof that her long nights and tired days meant something. Then she looked back at Adrien. "Thank you for coming." Adrien tilted his head. "I didn't do anything." "You showed up," Angel replied. Adrien didn't answer right away. But inside, those simple words meant a lot. They reached a small park bench near the campus gate and sat down. Angel placed the trophy beside her and stretched her arms. "My feet are tired," she said. "You were standing all day." Angel nodded. "Talking too." Adrien smiled slightly. "You looked confident." Angel laughed loudly. "I was terrified." Adrien raised an eyebrow. "You didn't look terrified." "That's because I practiced in my room many times," she admitted. Adrien chuckled quietly. Angel watched him carefully. "You laugh more now." "Do I?" "Yes." Angel leaned back on the bench. "It's nice." Adrien looked up at the evening sky. For many years his life had been filled with meetings, contracts, and business dinners. Now he was sitting on a simple bench with a student celebrating her architecture award. And strangely, this moment felt more valuable than any business deal. A few minutes later, Angel's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. "My mom." Adrien watched her answer the call. "Mom," Angel said excitedly. She quickly told her mother about the competition and the award. Adrien could hear her laughing happily on the phone. "Yes, I will send a picture." "Yes, Mom, I'm eating well." "Yes, I'm sleeping." Adrien smiled quietly. Angel's voice sounded full of love. After the call ended, Angel wiped a small tear from her eye. "My mom cried when she heard." "She must be very proud," Adrien said. Angel nodded. "She always believed in me." Adrien looked thoughtful. "Good parents do that." Angel glanced at him. "What about your parents?" Adrien paused. "My father built Kong Global." Angel listened carefully. "He was always working. Very serious." "And your mother?" "She passed away when I was young." Angel's expression softened. "I'm sorry." Adrien nodded slightly. It was a long time ago. But Angel could see something quiet in his eyes. Loneliness again. Without thinking, she gently nudged his arm. "Well," she said playfully, "you're not alone now. You have a friend who makes you eat very spicy soup." Adrien laughed again. "Yes, that is true." The following week life returned to normal. Angel went to classes during the day and worked at the restaurant in the evening. But something new began happening. More customers started visiting the restaurant. Students had seen Angel win the architecture competition. Some came just to congratulate her. The restaurant owner was very happy. "Angel, you bring good luck," he said. Angel laughed shyly. "I only bring soup." But Adrien noticed something else. Angel was becoming more confident. She spoke more boldly about her designs. She spent more time sketching during quiet hours. Her dream felt closer now. One evening, Adrien arrived a little earlier than usual. Angel was sitting at a table with her sketchbook open. He quietly walked over. "What are you designing now?" Angel looked up and smiled. "A community library." Adrien sat down. "Tell me about it." Angel turned the sketchbook so he could see. "This part has big windows so children can read in sunlight. And this garden area is for outdoor classes." Adrien studied the drawing carefully. "You think about people a lot when you design." Angel nodded. "Buildings should help people feel happy." Adrien leaned back in his chair. "You are going to change many lives someday." Angel laughed softly. "That sounds very big." Adrien answered calmly. "Big things start small." Angel closed the sketchbook slowly. "You really believe that?" "Yes." Angel looked at him for a moment. Then she said something quietly. "You believe in me more than I believe in myself sometimes." Adrien shook his head. "No, I just remind you of what you already are." Angel felt her cheeks warm slightly. She quickly stood up. "I should get back to work." But as she walked away, a small smile stayed on her face. Later that night, the restaurant finally closed. Angel stepped outside with Adrien like she sometimes did. The city lights were bright and colorful. Angel suddenly asked a question. "Adrien, do you ever regret not having a normal life?" Adrien thought carefully. "Sometimes." Angel nodded slowly. "I wonder what it's like to grow up rich." Adrien smiled faintly. "It's quieter than you think." Angel laughed. "My life is very loud." Adrien looked at her. "Yes, and very bright." Angel blinked. "Bright?" "Yes," Adrien said. "You bring light wherever you go." Angel looked away shyly. No one has ever said that before. Adrien didn't realize how honest his words sounded. He simply spoke what he felt. And the more time he spent with Angel, the easier it became to speak from his heart. Across the street, Ji-hoon watched the two of them from inside a parked car. He smiled to himself. His boss had changed a lot. The cold CEO who once ignored every woman in Seoul was now standing on a quiet street talking and laughing with a student waitress. Ji-hoon shook his head with amusement. If the board members saw this, they would faint. But he also knew something important. For the first time since he had worked for Adrien, the CEO actually looked happy. Meanwhile, Angel suddenly noticed something. "Adrien?" "Yes. You never told me something." "What?" "How old were you when you had your first girlfriend?" Adrien paused. Angel stared at him. Then her eyes grew wide. "Wait." Adrien rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. Angel gasped. "You never had one?" Adrien looked slightly embarrassed. "Not really." Angel burst into laughter. The powerful CEO Kong Adrien never dated properly? Adrien sighed. "I told you. I never felt anything before." Angel wiped tears from laughing. "Well," she said teasingly, "you are very late." Adrien raised an eyebrow. "Late for what?" Angel grinned mischievously. "Learning about love." Adrien looked at her quietly. For a moment the street felt very still. Then he said softly, "Maybe." And neither of them realized it yet. But the space between friendship and something deeper was slowly, very slowly, beginning to disappear. Angel's laughter slowly faded, but the smile stayed on her face. Adrien stood quietly beside her under the streetlight. The city moved around them, cars passing, students walking, neon signs glowing, but for a moment it felt like only the two of them were there. Angel crossed her arms playfully. "I still cannot believe you," she said. Adrien raised an eyebrow. "Why? You're 30 years old, the CEO of a huge company, and you've never really dated anyone." Adrien shrugged a little. "I told you before. I never felt anything." Angel studied his face carefully. "And now?" Adrien did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked down the quiet street. "I'm learning." Angel tilted her head. "Learning what?" Adrien looked back at her. "How to feel things I ignored before." Angel's cheeks warmed slightly, but she quickly covered it with another small laugh. "Well, you chose a very strict teacher." "Strict?" "Yes," Angel said proudly. "I don't accept nonsense." Adrien smiled. "I noticed." They both laughed softly. The next few days passed quickly. Angel became busy again with schoolwork and the restaurant. Her professors were giving new projects, and the architecture competition win had made her more determined than ever. One afternoon, she sat in the university library, surrounded by books and papers. Her friend Mina leaned across the table. "You look tired." Angel rubbed her eyes. "I am." Mina noticed the small trophy inside Angel's bag. "You're famous now," Mina teased. Angel laughed quietly. "Only in this building." Mina leaned closer. "I heard something else too." Angel raised an eyebrow. "What?" "People say CEO Kang keeps visiting the restaurant because of you." Angel almost dropped her pencil. "What?" Mina giggled. "It's true. My cousin works nearby. She saw him there again yesterday." Angel quickly shook her head. No. Adrien just likes the food." Mina stared at her. "You call him Adrien?" Angel froze. Mina slowly smiled like she had discovered a secret. I see." Angel pointed her pencil at her friend. "Stop imagining things." But deep inside, Angel felt her heart beating a little faster. That evening, Adrien arrived at the restaurant again. Angel was already serving customers. When she saw him, she walked over with a playful expression. "You're becoming a regular customer." Adrien sat down calmly. "Is that a problem?" Angel shook her head. "No. The owner loves it. He thinks you bring good luck." Adrien glanced around the busy restaurant. "I think the good luck is you." Angel rolled her eyes jokingly. "You say nice things too easily." Adrien looked serious. "I only say true things." Angel suddenly felt shy again and quickly wrote his order. "Spicy soup." "Yes." Angel nodded. "You're brave." Later, during a quiet moment, Adrien noticed Angel looking at a large envelope. "What's that?" he asked. Angel looked thoughtful. "It's an internship application." Adrien leaned forward slightly. "Architecture firm?" Angel nodded. "One of the best in the city." "That's good." Angel sighed softly. "But they only accept 2 students every year." Adrien looked at her calmly. "Then you should apply." Angel hesitated. "What if I'm not good enough?" Adrien spoke firmly. "You won first place in a university competition. That's different." "Why?" Angel shrugged. "That was just students." Adrien leaned slightly closer. "Angel." She looked up. "You are already good enough," he said. His voice sounded very certain. Angel stared at him for a moment. Then she smiled softly. "Okay." A week later, something surprising happened at Kong Global headquarters. Adrien was finishing a meeting with his board members when one of them spoke. "CEO Kang, we heard you have been visiting the university area often." Adrien looked calm. "Yes." Another member smiled curiously. "Is there a new project nearby?" Adrien paused for half a second. Then he answered honestly. "No." The room became quiet. Finally, one older board member chuckled. "Well, whatever the reason, you seem happier lately." Several others nodded in agreement. Adrien did not deny it, because it was true. That same evening, Angel stood outside the restaurant waiting for Adrien. She looked slightly nervous. When he arrived, she waved. "Adrien." He walked over. "You're outside today." Angel held up the envelope. "I sent the internship application." Adrien smiled. "That's good." Angel exhaled slowly. "My heart is still beating fast." "Why? What if they reject me?" Adrien thought for a moment. "Then you apply somewhere else." Angel blinked. "That's simple." "Yes." Angel laughed. "You make everything sound easy." Adrien shook his head. "It's not easy. But giving up is worse." Angel looked at him quietly. "You're a good motivator." Adrien raised an eyebrow. "Maybe I should change careers." Angel laughed again. They started walking slowly down the street. Angel suddenly asked a question. "Adrien, why do you keep coming here?" He answered without hesitation. "To see you." Angel stopped walking. Her eyes widened slightly. Adrien realized how direct his answer sounded, but he did not take it back. Angel stared at him for a few seconds. Then she looked down at the sidewalk. "You say things very boldly." Adrien shrugged. "I prefer honesty." Angel slowly started walking again. But her heart was beating louder now. And this time, she did not try to ignore it. A gentle breeze moved through the street as they reached the small park again. Angel sat on the same bench as before. She looked at Adrien thoughtfully. You know something? What? You are not the man people think you are. Adrien sat beside her. What do they think? Angel smiled slightly. They think you are cold. Adrien looked at the quiet trees in the park. Maybe I used to be. Angel shook her head. I don't think so. Adrien looked back at her. Why? Angel spoke softly. Because a cold person would not sit on a park bench with a tired student just to listen to her talk about buildings. Adrien didn't know what to say to that. But something warm filled his chest again. And somewhere deep inside Angel's heart, a new feeling was beginning to grow too. Not just friendship. Not just comfort. Something softer. Something deeper. But neither of them said the word yet. Because sometimes, the most beautiful feelings begin quietly, before anyone dares to give them a name. Spring slowly arrived in Seoul. The cold winter air faded and soft pink cherry blossoms began to appear along the streets near the university. Students walked under the trees taking pictures and laughing. Angel loved this time of the year. One afternoon, she stood outside the architecture building, looking up at the falling petals. They drifted gently through the air like tiny pieces of pink snow. Angel smiled and held out her hand to catch one. Beautiful, she whispered. Very. She turned around quickly. Adrien stood a few steps behind her. Angel laughed. You walk too quietly. Adrien shrugged slightly. You were busy admiring the flowers. Angel pointed at the sky. You should admire them too. Not everything in life is business. Adrien looked up at the blossoms. Then he looked back at her. I know. Angel raised an eyebrow. Since when? Adrien answered calmly. Since I met you. Angel felt her cheeks grow warm again. Over the past few months, their friendship had grown stronger. Adrien still visited the restaurant often. Angel still studied hard and worked late. But now they shared many small moments together. Walking through campus. Talking about architecture. Laughing over spicy food. Adrien even began asking questions about normal things he had never paid attention to before. Favorite movies. Childhood memories. Dream vacations. Angel teased him many times. You are discovering life very late. Adrien always answered the same way. Better late than never. And slowly, very slowly, their hearts grew closer. One evening, Angel received a message on her phone while she was at the restaurant. She opened it and suddenly gasped. What? The restaurant owner asked. Angel covered her mouth. I got the internship. The owner clapped loudly. That's wonderful. Angel laughed happily and hugged him. Customers nearby also congratulated her. But there was one person she wanted to tell first. Adrien. Later that night, she waited outside the restaurant. When Adrien's car stopped nearby, she ran toward him. Adrien. He stepped out of the car just in time for Angel to almost crash into him with excitement. What happened? He asked. Angel held up her phone. I got the internship. Adrien's eyes brightened. I knew you would. Angel jumped happily. I start in 2 months. Adrien smiled warmly. You deserve it. Angel looked at him carefully. You really believed I could do it? Yes. Angel tilted her head. You always say that like it's obvious. Adrien answered softly. Because it is. Angel suddenly felt quiet. For a moment, she just looked at him. Then she spoke gently. You support me a lot. Adrien nodded. I like seeing you succeed. Angel smiled. You're a good person, Adrien. A few days later, Adrien asked Angel to meet him at the small park near the university. Angel arrived first. She sat on the same bench where they had shared many conversations. The evening sky was turning orange as the sun slowly went down. A few minutes later, Adrien walked toward her. Angel noticed something different. He looked slightly nervous. That was very unusual. You look serious, she said. Adrien sat beside her. I am. Angel waited patiently. Adrien took a slow breath. Angel, can I ask you something? Of course. Adrien looked down at his hands for a moment before speaking again. For 30 years, I thought something was wrong with me. Angel frowned slightly. Why? Because everyone else seemed to understand love. Angel listened quietly. But I never felt it Adrien continued. I met many people. Beautiful people. Smart people. But my heart stayed quiet. Angel's chest tightened a little. Adrien turned to look at her. Then one rainy evening, I walked into a small restaurant. Angel smiled softly. And you dropped your fork? Adrien laughed lightly. Yes. And a waitress told me everyone has long days. Angel's smile grew. I remember. Adrien's voice became gentle. That night something changed. Angel felt her heartbeat growing faster. Adrien continued slowly. At first, I didn't understand the feeling. So I kept coming back. Angel whispered softly. I noticed. Adrien looked directly into her eyes now. And every day I learned something new. What? Adrien answered quietly. How kind you are. How strong you are. How you chase your dreams without asking anyone to rescue you. Angel felt her eyes shining slightly. And somewhere along the way, Adrien said softly, my heart finally woke up. Angel's breath caught. Adrien took another small breath. For the first time in my life, I fell in love. Angel's heart almost stopped. Adrien's voice became even softer. And it happened because of you. The park was completely quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause. Angel stared at him. Me? Adrien nodded slowly. I love you, Angel. His voice was calm, warm, and honest. No contracts. No conditions. Just love. Angel blinked quickly, trying to hold back tears. For months, she had felt something growing inside her heart. But hearing those words still felt like magic. You waited 30 years, she said quietly. Adrien smiled gently. Yes. Angel wiped a small tear and laughed softly. You're very late. Adrien leaned slightly closer. I know. Angel looked at him with shining eyes. Then she said the words that had been hiding in her heart too. Well, you're lucky. Adrien raised an eyebrow. Why? Angel smiled warmly. Because I fell in love with you too. Adrien's breath caught slightly. For the first time in his life, the powerful CEO Kang Adrien felt his heart completely full. He reached for her hand slowly. Angel didn't pull away. Their fingers gently intertwined. Simple. Warm. Real. Under the soft evening sky, the man who once believed he could never love, and the girl who believed love must always be equal, finally found each other. And in that quiet park, their new life together had just begun. Angel and Adrien sat quietly on the park bench for a few moments after confessing their feelings. Neither of them rushed to speak. The evening air felt soft and calm. Cherry blossom petals slowly drifted through the air and landed on the ground around them. Angel looked down at their hands. Adrien was still gently holding hers. It felt warm, safe, real. She smiled softly. So, this is your first relationship, she said playfully. Adrien nodded. Yes. Angel laughed. That means I have a lot of responsibility. Adrien raised an eyebrow. Responsibility? Yes, Angel said proudly. I have to teach you everything. Adrien looked curious. Everything. Angel counted on her fingers. Dates. Movies. Buying flowers. Remembering birthdays. Adrien chuckled quietly. That sounds like a lot of lessons. Angel grinned. You said you're learning. Adrien squeezed her hand gently. Then I will be a very dedicated student. The next few days felt different for both of them. Nothing in their daily lives changed too much. Angel still studied and worked at the restaurant. Adrien still ran his company. But something warm lived between them now. When Adrien walked into the restaurant, Angel's smile became brighter. When Angel talked about her dreams, Adrien listened even more carefully. Even the restaurant owner noticed. One evening he leaned toward Angel and whispered, "You smile more these days." Angel tried to act calm. "Do I?" The owner nodded. "Yes." And that tall customer smiles more too. Angel's cheeks turned pink. Meanwhile, at Kong Global headquarters, Adrien's assistant Jihoon also noticed something new. Adrien arrived at work one morning carrying a small paper bag. Jihoon looked confused. "Sir, what is that?" Adrien placed the bag on his desk. "Breakfast." Jihoon blinked. "For who?" Adrien answered simply. "For Angel." Jihoon's mouth opened slightly. You bought breakfast before work? Adrien nodded calmly. Yes. Jihoon smiled slowly. Our CEO has truly changed. Adrien didn't deny it. Later that evening, Adrien arrived at the restaurant earlier than usual. Angel was wiping tables when she saw him. You're early, she said. Adrien placed the paper bag on the table. I brought something. Angel peeked inside. Her eyes widened. Sweetbread. You mentioned you like it, Adrien said. Angel looked surprised. You remembered? Adrien shrugged slightly. You said I must learn to remember things. Angel laughed happily. Good student. They shared the bread together before the restaurant became busy again. It was such a small moment. But to Adrien, it felt special. He had bought many expensive gifts in his life. Luxury watches, jewelry, cars. But watching Angel happily eat sweetbread beside him felt more valuable than all of those. One weekend, Angel invited Adrien somewhere new. Close your eyes, she told him. Adrien looked confused. Why? Just trust me. Adrien sighed playfully but closed his eyes. Angel guided him carefully by the arm. Okay, stop here. Can I open them? Yes. Adrien opened his eyes. They were standing at a small outdoor market filled with food stalls and colorful lights. People were laughing and eating street food. Adrien looked surprised. You brought me here? Angel nodded proudly. This is real Seoul. Adrien looked around curiously. He had passed places like this many times, but never actually stopped. Angel pulled his sleeve. Come on. They walked from stall to stall. Angel bought spicy rice cakes. Adrien tried fish cake soup. Angel laughed when the sauce made him cough slightly. Too spicy again? Adrien nodded. You choose dangerous food. Angel grinned. Life is more fun with danger. Adrien laughed. For someone who controlled billion-dollar companies every day, this simple night market felt strangely exciting. Later they sat on a small wooden bench eating together. Angel looked at Adrien carefully. You look happy. Adrien answered honestly. I am. Angel leaned back and looked at the bright lights around them. You know, when I first met you, I thought you were just a quiet customer. Adrien smiled. I was. Angel shook her head. No. You were a lonely CEO hiding in a student restaurant. Adrien laughed softly. That might also be true. Angel turned to him. But now you're different. How? You look alive. Adrien looked at her gently. That's because of you. Angel felt her heart flutter again. A gentle breeze moved through the market. Angel suddenly spoke softly. You know something? What? My mom asked about you. Adrien looked curious. What did you tell her? Angel smiled shyly. I said, I met someone kind. Adrien's expression warmed. And what did she say? Angel laughed. She asked if you eat well. Adrien chuckled. That sounds like a mother. Angel nodded. She worries about everyone. Adrien looked thoughtful. I would like to meet her someday. Angel blinked in surprise. Really? Yes. Angel smiled slowly. That would make her very happy. As the night grew late, Adrien walked Angel home like he often did now. They stopped outside her apartment building. The street was quiet. Angel looked up at him. Today was fun. Adrien nodded. Yes. Angel hesitated for a moment. Then she stepped a little closer. You're learning quickly. Adrien raised an eyebrow. About love. Angel nodded. Adrien smiled gently. That's because I have a very good teacher. Angel laughed softly. Then she stood on her toes and gave him a quick, shy kiss on the cheek. Adrien froze in surprise. Angel immediately covered her face, embarrassed. Good night. She quickly ran inside the building. Adrien stood there for a moment, touching his cheek. Then he smiled. A real smile. The kind that came from deep inside his heart. For 30 years, Adrien Kong believed love would never come to him. But now, every single day with Angel felt like discovering a new piece of a beautiful life he never knew existed. Adrien stood outside Angel's apartment building for a few seconds after she ran inside. The cool night air brushed his face, but he barely noticed it. His hand slowly touched his cheek where Angel had kissed him. He had received many polite kisses at formal parties before, Women sometimes greeted him that way in high society events. But this felt completely different. His heart was beating loudly again. Adrien quietly laughed to himself. "So this is what it feels like," he murmured. Then he finally walked back to his car. The next morning at Kong Global headquarters, Ji-hoon immediately noticed something strange. Adrien walked into the office with a calm expression, but there was a small smile on his face. Ji-hoon blinked. That smile had been appearing more and more lately. "Good morning, sir," Ji-hoon said. "Good morning." Ji-hoon hesitated for a moment. Then he asked carefully, "Did you sleep well?" Adrien nodded. "Yes." Ji-hoon smiled slightly. "That is good." Adrien looked at him. "You seem curious about something." Ji-hoon coughed lightly. "Not curious, just observant." Adrien raised an eyebrow. Ji-hoon continued carefully, "Our CEO seems happier these days." Adrien did not deny it. He simply said, "People change." Ji-hoon nodded. "Yes, sometimes for the better." Later that afternoon, Adrien received a message from Angel. "Are you busy tonight?" Adrien looked at the message and smiled. He replied immediately, "For you? Never." A few seconds later, another message arrived. "Don't say things like that so confidently." Adrien laughed quietly. Then her final message came. "Meet me after my class. I want to show you something." Adrien answered with one word. "Okay." That evening, Adrien waited outside the university architecture building. Students slowly walked out carrying books and talking loudly. After a few minutes, Angel appeared among them. She waved happily when she saw him. "Adrien." He smiled. "How was class?" Angel stretched her arms. "Long, but good." Then she grabbed his sleeve. "Come with me." Adrien followed her across the campus path. Cherry blossom petals still covered the ground like soft pink snow. They stopped in front of a large empty field beside the campus. Adrien looked confused. "What are we doing here?" Angel reached into her bag and pulled out her sketchbook. She opened it and showed him a new design. "This is my new project." Adrien studied the drawing carefully. It showed a beautiful community space. Small homes, a playground, trees everywhere, and in the center, a large open park. Angel pointed to the center of the drawing. "This part is my favorite." "What is it?" "A place where people can sit and talk," she explained. "Families, friends, couples." Adrien looked at the drawing quietly. "It feels peaceful." Angel nodded. "That's the idea." Then she looked up at him. "You inspired this." Adrien blinked. "Me?" Angel smiled. "Yes." "How?" Angel closed the sketchbook slowly. "Because you showed me something important." "What?" Angel's voice became gentle. "That life is not only about working hard." Adrien listened quietly. "It's also about sharing time with someone who makes your heart feel calm." Adrien felt warmth spread through his chest again. They sat together on the grass nearby. The evening sky slowly turned orange as the sun began to set. Angel leaned back on her hands. "Adrien?" "Yes." "When did you know you loved me?" Adrien thought for a moment. Then he answered honestly. "I think my heart knew before my mind understood." Angel smiled. "That sounds very poetic." Adrien shrugged. "It's just the truth." Angel looked at him carefully. "And you're not scared?" "Of what?" "Of loving someone," she said softly. Adrien looked at the sunset. "For a long time I was scared of feelings." He turned back to her. "But now I'm more scared of losing them." Angel felt her chest tighten gently. She moved a little closer to him. "You won't lose me." Adrien looked at her. Angel smiled warmly. "I'm not going anywhere." The sun slowly disappeared behind the buildings. The sky became soft purple. Angel suddenly yawned. "Long day?" Adrien asked. Angel nodded. "Yes." Adrien stood and offered his hand. "Let's walk you home." Angel took his hand happily. "Good idea." They walked slowly along the quiet campus path. Their fingers stayed intertwined the whole time. Students passed by them laughing and talking, but Angel and Adrien felt like they were inside their own little world. When they reached her apartment building again, Angel turned to him. "You know something funny?" "What?" "You're the most powerful CEO in the city." Adrien nodded. "So people say." Angel smiled. But you still walk a tired student home every night. Adrien answered simply, because that student is important to me. Angel's heart melted at his words. She stepped closer again. This time she didn't run away after. She gently kissed his cheek once more. Then she looked at him with a playful smile. You're still learning. Adrien looked at her warmly. Yes. Angel raised an eyebrow. Learning what? Adrien leaned slightly closer and whispered softly. How lucky I am. Angel laughed softly before walking inside. And Adrien stood there again for a moment, smiling to himself. Because every small moment with Angel felt like a new chapter of happiness. And the man who once believed he could never feel love was now discovering it, day by day, in the simplest, most beautiful ways. The next morning sunlight gently filled Angel's small apartment. She woke up slowly, stretching her arms and smiling to herself. For a moment she simply stared at the ceiling. Then she remembered the night before. Walking with Adrien, holding his hand, kissing his cheek again. Angel covered her face with her pillow and laughed quietly. I can't believe this, she whispered. Her roommate Mina walked into the room, half asleep. Why are you laughing this early in the morning? Angel quickly sat up. Nothing. Mina squinted at her suspiciously. She walked closer and stared at Angel's face. You look suspiciously happy. Angel tried to act normal. I always look happy. Mina crossed her arms. Did you see your CEO boyfriend again? Angel almost choked. He is not my CEO boyfriend. Mina grinned. So, he is your boyfriend. Angel froze. Mina pointed triumphantly. Angel threw a pillow at her. Stop teasing me. But her big smile gave everything away. Meanwhile, Adrien had already started his morning at Kang Global headquarters. He sat at the large meeting table surrounded by executives. Charts and reports filled the big screen. One executive finished speaking. And that concludes the quarterly report. Everyone turned to Adrien. Normally, he would immediately analyze every number carefully. But today, he seemed slightly distracted. CEO Khan? Adrien blinked and looked up. Yes. Your thoughts? Adrien glanced at the report again. The plan looks good. Continue as scheduled. The executives nodded. The meeting ended soon after. As everyone left the room, Ji-hoon approached Adrien with a small smile. Sir, may I ask something? Adrien looked up from his tablet. What is it? Ji-hoon leaned slightly closer. Were you thinking about Angel again? Adrien did not even try to hide it. Yes. Ji-hoon laughed quietly. Our CEO is very honest now. Adrien shrugged. There is no reason to hide happiness. Ji-hoon nodded approvingly. That is true. That evening Adrien finished work earlier than usual. He sent Angel a message. Are you working tonight? A few seconds later her reply appeared. Yes. Come if you're hungry. Adrien smiled. I'm always hungry for your spicy soup. Angel quickly responded. Then prepare your mouth for danger. Adrien laughed softly as he headed to the restaurant. When Adrien walked inside, Angel was already busy serving customers. She spotted him immediately and waved. Your usual table. Adrien sat down. You sound very confident today. Angel placed a glass of water in front of him. I'm always confident. Adrien smiled. That's true. A few minutes later, she brought his food. But this time there was also a small dessert plate beside the soup. Adrien looked surprised. What's this? Angel looked proud. A reward. For what? Angel leaned slightly closer. For being a good boyfriend. Adrien blinked. You just called me your boyfriend. Angel froze. Her eyes widened. I didn't mean to say it like that. Adrien chuckled softly. But I liked hearing it. Angel hid her face with her hands. You're teasing me now. Adrien shook his head. No. Angel peeked through her fingers. Really? Adrien nodded calmly. Yes. I like being your boyfriend. Angel slowly lowered her hands. A shy smile appeared again. Well, good. After the restaurant closed that night, they walked together again. The city felt calm and quiet. Angel kicked a small pebble along the sidewalk playfully. Adrien? Yes. When you were younger, What did you imagine love would be like? Adrien thought carefully. I never imagined it. Angel looked surprised. Really? Yes. Angel walked a little closer to him. Then what do you think now? Adrien looked at her gently. I think love is simple. Angel tilted her head. Simple? Yes. How? Adrien answered softly. It's wanting to see someone every day. Angel's heart warmed. It's listening to their dreams. Angel smiled. It's walking them home even when you're tired. Angel squeezed his hand. And? Adrien looked at her with calm affection. And it's feeling peaceful just standing beside them. Angel's cheeks turned pink again. That does sound simple. Adrien smiled. But it feels very big. When they reached her apartment building again, Angel suddenly stopped walking. What's wrong? Adrien asked. Angel looked up at him with a mischievous smile. You're improving. In what? Angel tapped his chest lightly. In romance. Adrien laughed softly. I'm still a beginner. Angel nodded seriously. Yes. Then she leaned forward and kissed his cheek again. But this time she didn't run away. She simply stood there smiling. Adrien gently held her hand. Good night, Angel. Angel squeezed his hand. Good night, Adrien. As she walked inside the building, Adrien watched her disappear through the door. The streetlights glowed softly above him. For 30 years, Adrien Kong believed life was only about success and responsibility. But now he had discovered something far more valuable. A girl who laughed easily. A girl who chased her dreams bravely. A girl who made his quiet world feel bright. And every single day with Angel made his heart stronger, warmer, and more alive than it had ever been before. Spring slowly turned into early summer in Seoul. The days became warmer, and the streets near the university were filled with bright sunlight and green trees. Students spent more time outside, sitting on grass fields, reading books, and laughing with friends. For Angel, life had become busier than ever. Her internship was about to begin, her classes were demanding, and she still worked part-time at the restaurant. But somehow, even with all that work, she felt happier than she had ever felt before. Because Adrien was now a constant part of her life. Every morning, he sent a simple message. Good morning. Did you sleep well? And every night, he walked her home. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they said very little. But the silence between them always felt warm. One afternoon, Angel stood inside the architecture studio at the university, studying a large model she had built. It was a design for a community neighborhood. Small homes, green gardens, a central park where families could gather. Her professor walked around the model slowly. Finally, he nodded with approval. This is excellent work, Angel. Angel's eyes brightened. Thank you, Professor. The professor looked at her carefully. You design with heart. That is rare. Angel smiled. I want people to feel happy in the places they live. The professor nodded again. You will become a wonderful architect. Angel felt her chest fill with pride. And the first person she wanted to tell was Adrien. That evening, Adrien arrived at the restaurant like he always did. Angel ran to him before he even reached his table. I have news. Adrien smiled immediately. Good news. Angel nodded excitedly. My professor loved my design. Adrien's eyes softened with pride. I'm not surprised. Angel laughed. You always say that. Because it's always true, Adrien replied calmly. Angel placed her hands on her hips. You're too confident in me. Adrien leaned slightly closer. That's because I see you clearly. Angel suddenly felt quiet again. Adrien had a way of saying simple words that touched her heart deeply. Sometimes she wondered how the quiet CEO who once felt nothing had become so warm. Weeks later, the university held its graduation ceremony. Students wore black gowns and caps. Families filled the large outdoor field with cameras and flowers. Angel stood with her classmates, her heart beating fast. She had worked for years for this moment. She looked across the crowd of people. So many faces. So much noise. Then she spotted him. Adrien. He was sitting quietly in the middle of the crowd. No special seat. No attention. Just watching her with a soft, proud smile. Angel's heart warmed instantly. After the ceremony ended, students rushed toward their families. Angel ran through the crowd searching for Adrien. Finally, she saw him standing near a large cherry blossom tree. She walked toward him slowly. "You came," she said softly. Adrien nodded. "Of course." Angel held up her graduation cap. "You didn't sit in the VIP section." Adrien smiled gently. "I didn't want to miss the view from here." Angel tilted her head. "What view?" Adrien answered quietly. "The moment you became the architect you always dreamed of being." Angel felt her eyes sting with happy tears. "You waited," she said softly. Adrien looked at her with calm affection. "For the first time in 30 years. He paused. "I didn't mind waiting." Angel laughed through her tears. "You're very dramatic today." Adrien shrugged slightly. "I learned from you." Angel stepped closer. The crowd around them slowly faded into background noise. For a moment it felt like the whole world had become quiet. "Adrien," she said softly. "Yes." "Do you remember the first day we met?" Adrien nodded. "You dropped your fork." Angel laughed. "And I told you everyone has long days." Adrien looked at her warmly. "That day changed my life." Angel smiled gently. "You changed mine too." Adrien reached into his coat pocket. Angel watched curiously. He pulled out a small velvet box. Angel blinked in surprise. "Adrien." Adrien opened the box slowly. Inside was a simple, elegant ring. Not too big, not too flashy, just beautiful. Just like Angel. He took a small breath. "Angel, before I met you, I built buildings, companies, and success." Angel listened quietly, but none of it felt complete. He looked directly into her eyes. "Then you walked into my life with a warm smile and a simple dream." Angel felt her heart racing. "You showed me how to care. You showed me how to listen. You showed me how to love." Adrien's voice softened. "I don't want to build my future alone anymore." He gently held her hand. "Will you build it with me?" Angel's eyes filled with tears again. "Yes," she whispered. Adrien blinked. "Yes," he repeated softly. Angel laughed through happy tears. "Yes." Adrien slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. The crowd around them suddenly erupted in cheers as nearby students realized what had just happened. Angel laughed and wiped her eyes. "You just proposed in front of everyone." Adrien smiled calmly. "I didn't plan that part." Angel shook her head with amusement. "You're still learning." Adrien pulled her gently into a warm embrace. "Yes," he said softly. "But I have the best teacher." Angel rested her head against his chest. And under the soft falling cherry blossoms, the man who once believed he could never love, and the girl who believed love must always be equal, began the most beautiful chapter of their lives together. Not built on wealth, not built on power, but built on something far stronger. Respect, dreams, and a love that arrived quietly, yet changed everything forever. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share with friends and loved ones, and subscribe for more amazing stories to come.